It's really, really my pleasure to welcome you here today. I wanted to talk a little bit about the evolution of quality. And I don't know if we can get the monitor here working. That would be great. Thank you. But I want to talk about the evolution of quality. And, it starts with a cold, hard fact that the world is changing. In fact, the world has already changed. And it's all driven by technology. And, we have to go back quite a ways in history to find a time when as much change happened to our human existence. Actually, back to the Industrial Revolution. Before the Industrial Revolution, people lived about 40 years. They were about 5 feet tall. They lived in agrarian society. They didn't live in big cities. And the Industrial Revolution and the advent of technology changed everything. It changed social structure. It changed how we interact with one another. It changed our, everything about the way we exist as human beings. And what I want to talk about today is the fact that there's a confluence of 4 massive forces that are really changing the world again. The first one is the fact that we have really massively speeded up computers. If you think about it, the computing capacity that we have is now the result of 50 years of Moore's Law that has now taken place. And it has these, the ability of computers to do things at levels that were never even dreamed of before. And we also have massive data. Not only massive data, but now the ability to actually process that data with massively parallel processors. We also have things all networked together, and you couple that with the fact that it's all in the palm of our hand with mobile, and it brings about a new revolution. We all know it's the technology revolution. Whether it's how we drive our cars, self-driving cars, whether it's robotics that basically eliminate a lot of mundane tasks and allow and free us up to do different things with our time, whether it's virtual reality or enhanced reality that really deepen our experiences, whether it's the Internet of things all connected together and creating this data. What we're undergoing as a world is completely changing. And it's going to be more impactful, it already has been in many ways, more impactful than the Industrial Revolution was 150 years ago. And Mark Andreessen said it best, it's all driven by software. Software is eating the world. It really is. And if you think about it, as a result of that, a lot of companies are recognizing that they have to, in order to compete, they have to also make this investment in technology and investment in software. In fact, companies are recognizing that it's an existential threat. I was recently with one of our customers, and he said to me, if we don't fundamentally change how we interact with our customers, all driven by technology, we won't be in existence in 10 years. Now, this is a multi-billion-dollar company that recognizes that they need to make investments in technology to really compete. Technology is no longer this kind of back-office, non-critical function. It's increasingly taking over the whole value chain of industries and companies. And it doesn't matter what industry or what company you look at, you see that basically technology is an important competitive driver, and companies have to make this investment. But what happens when they're making this investment is that they begin to bring risk into their business. I mean, look at McDonald's. They basically now are putting technology and changing their fundamental transaction, how they're interacting with the customer, how the customer is actually ordering the food, and how they're actually paying for it. And it's now completely dependent upon technology to make that work. It better be effective, it better be efficient, and it better not be buggy, right? Here's an industry, the exercise machine industry, that was basically kind of, passé, and a lot of people had exercise machines they didn't really use, and suddenly technology completely transforms that industry with Peloton and other competitors like that recognize the power of community when people are exercising. And then, of course, there are companies like Virgin Atlantic that recognize that they better make investments in their customer interface. And recently, I'm a Delta frequent flyer, and so I went to fly to the UK, and I booked a flight on Delta, but it was a code share flight on Virgin Atlantic. So the day comes for me to go to the airport, and I want to check in. So I go to my Delta app, because I'm a Delta frequent flyer, and it says check in. I press check in, and it pops me over to the Virgin Atlantic application. And guess what? It was buggy. It was terrible. It was a terrible experience. And the first thing that popped into my mind as I'm going through this experience is, I wonder if their planes are safe. And the second thing I thought was, well, I'm not going to book on Virgin Atlantic the next time. You see, the risks that get imposed in businesses are real, and it drives at the very core of what they do. In fact, if you think about it, as systems increase in complexity and systems increase in interconnectivity, the risk that is imposed on businesses that are trying to compete by using these new tools, increase exponentially. And we don't have to look very far to see examples of this. I mean, I could stand up here and give you 100 examples right off the top of my head of examples, but I mean, look at this. Can you imagine as a Hertz customer being arrested because of a software glitch? It's like catastrophic if you think about it. From a brand perspective, from a revenue perspective, I guarantee you this created a lot of negative ripples for Hertz. And so the way to solve it is really what we call the journey to quality. As companies are adopting technology, they're recognizing that they must increase the velocity of their development of software. They've got to compete, and they've got to get it out there quickly. And so what's happening is there's this whole evolution of software development, which might sound like old news. I can tell you, people think, oh, Agile's kind of old news, continuous, that's all, we've all heard that. But I've been around and I've talked to a lot of companies, a lot of our client companies, who really want to get there, but they recognize that they're kind of culturally still stuck in the old world. And so there's this desire to evolve as in terms of development and increasing release velocity, and as a result, quality engineering itself has to evolve. It has to evolve from just finding bugs, which is kind of what you think about when you think about testing, to business assurance, to making sure that you're really mitigating business risk, to ultimately engineering quality into the actual product design and getting that up front and using that to make sure that quality is not an afterthought. It's actually something you're thinking about early on. And so when we talk about the journey to quality for our clients, we're really talking about, and we hear this from our clients, they're all asking us to help them along this journey. No matter where they are along this journey, they're asking us to help them to basically advance the cause. If they're manual functional testing, and that's really the way they approach it, we can help bring automation frameworks to them that actually help them automate. And it's not just about decreasing cost when you think about automation, it's also about release velocity. It's about not having testing be the bottleneck in their development. If they're already have a lot of automated, but they really want to raise their sites to strategic, the way we kind of look at the world is like this. So it's really along two axes. So there's the manual versus automated axis, the y-axis, and there's the x-axis here, the functional versus strategic. What do I mean by strategic? I'm talking about reliability testing or usability testing or resilience in cyber security. Or does the software actually drive the business purpose for which it was created? Is it actually deriving the result that was originally intended in driving that software? And what's interesting is that testing is kind of stuck in the lower left corner in a lot of people's minds. They think of testing as kind of manual functional. That's really what they think of when they think of testing. And there's a lot of resource in the world that's still being spent in manual functional testing. So there's obviously a drive to basically move up that automation chain. Take that functional testing and help automate it. And that's not, again, just to cost mitigate, but it's also to increase speed to market. There's also a push to add services that are more strategic in nature. And we have a number of our clients where we continue to do manual testing, but it's raised to this higher strategic plane and helping them really make sure that they're driving the business purpose for which the software is created. And then lastly, in this upper right quadrant, we call this future-proofing businesses. It's basically using the latest automation and making sure that we're driving strategic results for our customers. And I'm really pleased to say that the Qualitest really does have market leadership because we have products in each of these areas. Tally will talk to us about quality and about moving from functional to strategic and how that can be much more valuable to customers. And Avaram will be up here in a bit. He'll talk about our AI offering, where we're using AI, artificial intelligence, machine learning, to actually help us with our testing framework and really help you be more quick to market by using an AI framework. Uri will talk about our cyber practice and resilience, and you'll see that we're really leading the charge here. So we're just so happy that you're here with us today. We want you to know that you are everything to us, and I mean that. We have a saying in our company that I've kind of coined, and it was one that I learned in Japan many years ago. Okioka-sama wa kame-sama desu. I don't know if anybody speaks Japanese in here, but what that means is the customer is God. And the reason we say that as a company is because we recognize that we don't exist if you don't hire us to provide services to you. You are very important to us. We want you to know that we want to be here to basically help you drive value through testing. And with that, I will turn it over back to Tally, I think, right? Or no, sorry.